Coming up on Buckeye TV, we'll find out about what students are doing for spring break, how the winter blues and COVID-19 is affecting their mental state.
And finally, student sleeping habits, all coming up next on Buckeye TV.
Hello and welcome back to Buckeye TV. I'm Nathan Forstoffel.
And I'm Megan Carroll. We have an exciting show for you today. We'll cover Ohio State women's basketball, the rise of Bitcoin, Snapchat anxiety, and should college students receive stimulus checks. All coming up on Buckeye TV. But first, spring break. The first instructional break for students is coming up, and Buckeye TV reporter Bree Allenstein has more about what students plan to do and how they feel.
With an unprecedented spring semester, Ohio State decided against giving students a week off for spring break and instead opted for instructional breaks on February 23rd and 24th, and then again with March 31st and April 1st. With the COVID pandemic still on rise, Ohio State wanted to limit the amount of people traveling, and with that came the loss of the full week for spring break. Here we have students who have some thoughts on how they feel.
Well, to be honest, they're just days in the middle of the week, as far as I know. I believe we have one next week. And so I will probably just be doing the homework that I have for classes, like, for the rest of the week.
Yeah, that's like where I'm at too. I will probably just try to catch up on homework and do what I can for the rest of that week. Like, it won't really feel like a break.
While for most students, classes still remain virtual, it can be very easy for professors to schedule work even on the days that are supposed to be off.
I think it would just be huge if administration let the teachers know, like, hey, if you don't get through every single little bit of content you wanted to, it's okay to let these kids have 2 days off. Like, I know teachers will be really tempted to give us like supplemental work and like, hey, like, you should check out this 2-hour lecture still, and like we should just continue cranking out because we aren't in person anyway. And so I would say for administration to like let us know it's okay to take the break.
Although there may not be a full spring break this semester, these instructional breaks will hopefully be something that students looking forward to. For Buckeye TV News, I'm Bree Allenstein.
The winter time can be a slog for some, and the pandemic has just added weight. But what can students do about it when cabin fever becomes too much to bear? Here's Jake Rice with the story.
During any given winter, it's not uncommon to feel down. But what about during a pandemic winter?
It's wintertime on Ohio State's campus, and it surely shows. However, this academic year is unprecedented, and no student body has ever had to deal with a winter and a winter break like this one.
Did you ever feel like lonely at all, or were you positive throughout?
I was lonely, of course. I feel like humans aren't meant to have no human interaction at all. I feel like it's normal to have, feelings of depression, feelings of anxiety, feelings of loneliness. But I think it's also very important to recognize those feelings and try to prioritize your mental health.
For some, winter break was a chance to recuperate and recharge.
But here in Columbus, honestly just got ready for this semester. I didn't do as well in the fall semester as I normally have in college, so my grades suffered that semester, so I really wanted to start this spring semester off doing much better and getting really organized and staying on top of everything in my classes, so I took some time and break to do that.
But what if you're a student on campus and you still feel down?
Counseling and consultation is a great resource. The Student Health Center on campus is another avenue for getting linkage with support.
If you ever feel down, don't be afraid to reach out. I'm Jake Rice with Buckeye TV.
Thanks, Jake. Speaking of winter blues, we have a cold front moving in across the central part of the country, leaving millions without power. 3.8 million people in Texas were left without power and unsafe driving conditions, forcing the airports to be closed, canceling all flights as of yesterday morning. Here in Columbus, we are in a winter advisory effect later today, leaving us expecting 3 to 6 inches of snow. Next up, we have Lucy Jones talking about college kids' sleeping habits.
Young adults must get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Lucy Jones tells us what can happen when students lack this consistency with their sleeping habits.
Students must juggle a multitude of responsibilities, but with only so many hours in the day, many students choose to sacrifice their sleep in order to stay on top of everything. I spoke with a psychiatrist and students to discuss this topic of sleep.
When you go to sleep at night, that really is like a cleansing process. In other words, these toxic chemicals that build up over the course of the day are cleaned out from the brain.
But how can the absence of this restorative process affect daily life?
So pretty much if I don't get enough sleep, I just get kind of like cranky, easily distracted and all of that. It takes me longer to do things because I feel like I have a shorter attention span.
While this may seem like a bearable sacrifice, a continued lack of sleep can have long-term effects.
People who are chronically sleep deprived over time can have effects on things such as your heart, and also predispose you to diabetes, can increase them to being predisposed to dementia.
So what can students do to try and get better sleep at night?
Stop looking at your phone, for instance, or looking at your tablet a good half an hour before you plan on going to sleep. I wouldn't have any caffeine products after, say, early evening or even before that. And then making sure that your bed's comfortable, that there's not excess noise coming in.
I think it's just a healthier lifestyle, than going to bed at 2 and getting up at noon.
Hopefully now students are better equipped to make informed decisions about their sleeping habit. I'm Lucy Jones with BuckeyeTV.
Coming up on Buckeye TV, the women's basketball team growing from the lockdown and COVID theaters with the effects on streaming services. All coming up on Buckeye TV. The Buckeyes had another road game on Wednesday, this time in Madison, Wisconsin. Nathan Forstoffel has the breakdown.
The Ohio State women's basketball team has been on a tear through their schedule this season, achieving a top 12 ranking in the AP poll. The Big Ten Conference is unforgiving as the Buckeyes went on the road and took a loss in Madison, Wisconsin.
Head coach Kevin McGuff after the loss.
Yeah, just disappointing. Give Wisconsin credit. I thought they played really hard and they really beat us up on the boards. But we were just disappointed because we didn't feel like that we gave our best effort tonight. And that starts with me on down. That's a tough team loss for all of us. And we got to coach better. We got to play better, and just need to be better.
Despite the loss, Dorka Juhas laid in her 9th double-double of the season after being listed to the Naismith Player of the Year watch list earlier this week. After trailing earlier in this game, a steal by Madison Green got the ball pushed up the court to J.C. Shelton, who would then kick to Braxton Miller to tie it. With this three, the Buckeyes were back tied again. The comeback was short-lived for Ohio State, as this lay-in by Amani Lewis put the game on ice. Lewis would go 9 for 12 on the game with 27 points.
The Buckeyes had their game against Northwestern canceled this past Sunday, so they'll take on the Purdue Boilermakers at the Jerome Schottenstein Center on Thursday night. I'm Nathan Forstoffel for Buckeye TV 19. The RPAC is requiring students to fill out and show their green check mark as part of their daily health check to exercise and use equipment. Here's Jacob Benge with the latest.
I'm Jacob Benge with Buckeye TV. I'm here at the RPAC, where the green check mark now is required from students in order to use the equipment in order to work out. I spoke with an employee and a couple of students to get their thoughts on why they think the check mark is a go.
Beginning this semester, the RPAC and all of rec sports for that matter was asked by Student Life to make sure that we are helping to enforce that expectation in our facilities, because it is one of the primary places that students and fact staff are utilizing when they are coming to campus right now.
It doesn't really discourage me, no. I mean, it's quick and easy. I just get up, take my temperature, and fill it out, and then I'll have it the rest of the day.
That's the easiest way that we are able to contact trace, collect information, and make sure that we're connecting with folks as quickly as possible to help decrease that spread.
The only flaw is that you fill it out yourself, so I think you should have to get your temperature taken here and then fill it in. That way you can actually not lie on it.
And now that we're a couple weeks into it, it's going really well. And it's honestly not a huge concern, but those first few weeks, I was out there more regularly. My students were kind of bouncing around doing other duties as assigned to make sure that people were getting through pretty quickly.
Honestly, I'm pretty motivated to go to the gym, so I really don't mind doing it. It only takes about 10 seconds.
I think my student staff are handling it extremely well. And I think that our student members and our fact staff members are doing a great job complying with it. We were pretty nervous, honestly, when we launched it.
In addition to the green check mark students must show at the front gate, there's also a one-time waiver that you'll fill out the first time you use equipment here at the RPAC. I'm Jacob Bench with Buckeye TV.
As we all know, February is a month in which we honor the contributions of African Americans who have come before us. From Rosa Parks to Jackie Robinson and Oprah Winfrey to Barack Obama, everyone who has come before has helped make a change in this country for the better. Here on Buckeye TV, we want to create a space for which we can honor them and show others to stand up for what they believe in to make a change. Up next, growing from the lockdown.
Despite it being difficult, people should try to expand upon and work on themselves during the pandemic. Such examples can be seen at the university. Smith Gia has the story.
The lockdown and pandemic have been a stressful time for everyone. Because of this, many have seen self-growth from themselves and learned new things about themselves while being in the situation. Today, we are here with Jacob Riedel and Andrew Song, both students at The Ohio State University, to see what they were up to and how they changed. How has the lockdown and pandemic changed you as a person, for better or worse?
I don't think it's changed me as a person. Like, I don't think my personality is any different. I do feel like I've picked up on some different habits. Like, I've been reading a lot more and that sort of thing. Been trying to work out a little bit, but yeah, I don't think I've changed much as a person.
It's made me more connected with my friends and try to reach out to them more. Because it's like everything's virtual, we can talk to each other instead of like trying to get together. And it's definitely made me think more about myself and like things I do.
Have you learned any new skills that you've picked up to help you get through these trying times?
I mean, it is all about occupying the time. I've been coding a lot. I've learned Python. That was pretty cool.
Thank you.
I haven't really picked up anything new, but I've been reading a lot more and just doing a lot of like trying to build on the things I already was into before lockdown.
The pandemic has been a new experience for us all, but we can only hope to continue growing as people until things start to return to normal. From Buckeye TV, this is Smith Gia.
As courses over this academic year have switched to largely virtual instruction due to COVID-19 restrictions, professors have resorted to using virtual exam proctoring services, namely Proctorio, for their academic integrity needs. How do students feel about the service? Here's Asia Atua with the story.
With many courses shifting to virtual instruction to meet the university's safety guidelines, and students ending up having to take tests from the comforts of their own homes, as opposed to classroom desks, some professors are looking for efficient ways to proctor their exams. Insert Proctorio. Proctorio is a platform that, once added on as an extension to your computer, works with your coursework in Carmen and provides various virtual proctoring services, including scanning for plagiarism throughout your assignment, employing ID verification, including requiring webcams to be on for the duration of the exam, and blocking internet browsing, preventing students from accessing unauthorized resources during tests. While some faculty are on board with using Proctorio for their online exams, why do you choose to use Proctorio for exams and things?
Just to make it more secure.
Others lean more towards avoiding it, like Melissa Beers, professor of psychology in the Department of Psychology at Ohio State. Beers said the good in protecting academic integrity with services like Proctorio don't outweigh the harm to students, who may experience additional stress and worry having to take their tests with such strict proctoring guidelines, and the concern of technical difficulties in validating or disrupting the test.
Seems to me like, we should never be taking a chance on causing our students distress or harm in trying to administer our courses.
And for some other students, like Yandris Ferguson, a second year in political science, requiring the use of Proctorio for their course exams is fairly so-so.
As far as benefits, there really weren't any benefits particularly. Not to say I didn't like it. It's just something that was there. Took up space on my computer though. And I was glad to get to free that space up.
With its various pros and cons, the future of virtual exam proctoring is most uncertain, especially as the return of in-person classes may be on the horizon. From Buckeye TV, this is Asia Atua.
COVID has caused many businesses to change how they continue operating under strict guidelines, with some being forced to completely stop. But how have movie theaters been adapting? Here's Patrick Rodimus with the story.
Movie theaters have entertained countless amounts of people since their creation. But how has the pandemic affected the distribution? We talked with Dave Philippi from the Film and Video Department at the Wexner Center to see how the Wexner Center is combating this.
We've obviously moved a lot of our program online, and close to a year ago, actually, when COVID started, almost a year ago, we started to think right away, well, maybe there's a way to do this online. It was a resounding success.
But were there any challenges?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's surprising how much work it is to get, if we're showing a film in our theater, the film arrives, the projectionist gets it ready, we project it, and that's it. To get something up online just presented a whole set of challenges that we were not anticipating. Yeah, I think it, maybe took us a couple months to adjust, but I think it's become somewhat second nature.
Will this plan continue post-pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, a film that sells out at the Wexner Center in person is 300 people. And we've done things, again, that have, thousands of people have watched. Another thing is we've been doing all kinds of filmmaker and artist and scholar conversations and been putting those up on our website. And I think now what we'll do in many instances, when a filmmaker comes to the Wexner Center, record it and be a little bit more deliberate about getting it up on our website maybe a few days after that person is at the Wexner Center in person, so more people can take advantage of the conversation.
If you would like to check out the events or some of the films that the Wexner Center has, head to their website at wexarts.org. For Buckeye TV, I'm Patrick Rodimus.
More to come on Buckeye TV. The rise of Bitcoin. Should we invest? Should we not? The STEP Signature Project and the Wexner Art Exhibit. All coming up on Buckeye TV. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. With apps like Robinhood and Fidelity, investing has become a hobby for students everywhere. Among tech and Fortune 500 companies, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is experiencing its own personal gold rush. We go to Sam Ruskin for the story.
Since its inception in 2008, Bitcoin has experienced a meteoric rise, unparalleled by any commodity or currency in history. The concept for Bitcoin was originally introduced to be a decentralized digital currency that cut out the middleman in transactions, but it's become more of an anomaly than a currency given its incredibly volatile state. I spoke with longtime investor Max Block, as well as Bitcoin unenthusiast David Barron. Why did you originally invest in Bitcoin?
So back in 2018, my high school friends and I really liked the idea of Bitcoin, so I ended up putting in about $300 when it was at $4,000 back then, and now it's worth upwards of $48,000. And the reason why I liked it, it just had so much potential, and there was no real precedent for how high it could go. And like some people thought that it was just too much risk, but I like to focus on like the more positive facts of that volatility. And if you look at some of the tech companies today, it's the most similar trajectory, and it truly feels like we're getting in on the ground floor.
David, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin? Do you feel like it's a good investment?
It's definitely possible to succeed in investing in Bitcoin. It's happened, obviously, but I'm not sure how much skill is actually involved versus luck. It seems kind of like a crapshoot, and there's not a whole lot of, maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of concrete data behind it compared to all of the metrics you can gather with real stocks, which is what makes me nervous.
So Max, given its extremely volatile state, would you consider Bitcoin more of a currency or a commodity?
I could see how people think of it as a currency. That's what it was originally intended for. But personally, I feel it acts more as like a commodity. When you look at other commodities like oil or gold, the price can change so quickly overnight and it completely rock the markets. I think people are seeing a similar effect with Bitcoin, and it's personally exciting me. It feels like Bitcoin right now, today, is our generation's gold rush.
What are your thoughts, David?
I definitely say it has more similarities to currency than it does to commodities. Especially, I mean, the obvious fact that it's intangible, unlike gold and silver. However, I still struggle to even put it in the same camp as currencies, just because it's so decentralized, unlike obviously like the U.S. dollar or the euro, which is something I really struggle with. Is just what's stopping you from being hacked and someone taking all your Bitcoin? And if someone does, who cares? Because it's not backed by a government or any entity.
Bitcoin has surely found a way to divide investors, and with its dwindling inventory, it's only a matter of time before it's either cemented as a golden investment or cast aside as a burden that carries more risk than it's worth. I'm Sam Ruskin, and this is BuckeyeTV.
A new exhibit at the Wexner Center for the Arts is challenging notions of artists and their environment. Vincent Lucarelli has the story on climate changing.
An ever-changing socio-political landscape. How are artists attempting to grapple with their environment? I'm here outside the Wexner Center for the Arts, where a new exhibition is attempting to answer that question. Open January 30th, Climate Changing is a wide-ranging show featuring 22 artists from a variety of backgrounds and cultures, taking on the theme of the social environment and what that means to them. According to exhibition curator Lucy Zimmerman, this exhibition took more than a bit of careful planning.
But then I think what made it difficult was this was supposed to open in May of 2020. And so COVID hit and, we had to switch gears. And this was an exhibition. I commissioned 9 artists to make new work. So they've all been working amidst the pandemic, which has been, affected people in radically different ways, whether it's, personally or financially, economically in some way. So yeah, that's kind of changed both the way changed the way we work. Organizing exhibitions is a very collaborative endeavor.
The vast array of perspectives on display at this exhibition leaves almost every viewer with something to ponder from their own life. As Lucille Toth, assistant professor of Italian and French at Ohio State Newark, states.
It's the actual physical Wexner, like the towers, the castle. I think it's called the castle.
Right.
So it means so many things. Where I'm from in France and in Europe in general, there's a lot of castles. So that's something that you're very familiar with. And it's something that usually, it's not welcoming spaces. It's supposed to, it's a fortress that's supposed to prevent people from coming in. So it's really, there's this like austerity in the idea of a castle or of towers like this. But that being the forefront of a museum or a space of art says something different, challenges this already.
The exhibition will be on view until May 9th. This is Vincent Lucarelli for BuckeyeTV News.
Field reporter Ashley Lear met with 2 local favorite restaurants to find out how they've adapted to the coronavirus.
COVID-19 has changed the way we shop, meet our friends, and even eat. Restaurants across the country were forced to close or adapt to this new way of living. And now, a year later, I'm taking a look at how some favorite local restaurants have ensured business carries on.
We got rid of indoor dining right away. We did lay off a few people, unfortunately, but we also had staff that did not want to work during this time. I would say probably before all of this, probably 60% of the orders were call-in. The other 40% were placed in-house. I think now that's kind of moved to probably about 75, maybe 80% call-ahead orders. So if they still want to come in, they can still come in, place their order. However, they cannot sit here and eat it. They need to go somewhere else with it. Until, we feel comfortable and the staff feels comfortable, we will not do in-house dining.
Just a few blocks away, local German restaurant Schmidt's resumed dining services this April.
first of all, we can only fit about 50% in our restaurant. So we're getting less because of that alone. We raised our booth walls on all our booths. That way you feel very private and safe. The more this goes on, I think people are seeing how safe they can be at our restaurant while dining with us. So there's many different ways that you can still enjoy Schmitz if you don't want to come in and dine in, but you can still feel safe dining in.
COVID-19 cases are on the rise, reaching new numbers. The total amount of cases in the U.S. is roughly 28 million, and a total of 501,000 deaths nationwide. 66.5 million vaccines have been administered nationwide already, and we have more to come in the following months. Looking at numbers like these, it's easy to get lost in them and feel scared. There are precautions that we, as Buckeyes, can take. For example, wearing your face mask, standing 6 feet apart, washing your hands often, and more. For a full list of ways to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, visit the Ohio State website or cdc.gov for more. Remember, we will get through this together as Buckeyes. It's not a secret that the current state of the world has forced many people to cancel or change travel plans, and participants in the university's second-year Transformational Experience program are no exception. Here's Erica Kolb with the story.
For many students here at OSU, the STEP program is an opportunity for them to pursue dream travel, academic, professional, leadership, or artistic endeavors. However, due to the current pandemic, many students are having to alter their signature projects. I'm here today with Rebecca Caputa of the STEP administration and a STEP student, Kennedy Johnstone, to get their thoughts on the current status of the program and what the university is doing to accommodate participants at this time.
My STEP plan originally was to do a study abroad in Italy for 2 months this past summer, 2020. But with COVID, it got canceled, obviously. So I've pretty much decided I'm just not doing a STEP project anymore because I feel like they weren't very accommodating overall. And I know I'm not the only one who's not able to do a project now just because of time constraints of graduating.
I think within the current pandemic, students should be encouraged to reach out to individuals that they might not have thought to reach out to. So each day when I read the On Campus Today or receive college and departmental newsletters, I see projects filled within these pieces of information. So you see faculty who are doing undergraduate research, internship opportunities, faculty who are doing service projects at Ohio State and within the community. So they're not just opportunities at Ohio State, but it's really within the greater community and the greater United States. And furthermore, to not do this alone. So reach out to STEP if a student is having questions or kind of in a rut, or to work with their previous faculty mentor. So I believe sometimes having conversations with others opens up their minds to project ideas that they may have not imagined or even thought were possible through STEP.
Despite Kennedy's plans falling through, she offers words of wisdom for students that are choosing to stick with STEP.
Still try to do something related to those areas that you're interested in, because I just feel like, what's the point of settling if it's supposed to be a transformational experience? You should do what you're passionate about or you really want to do.
If your original STEP plans have been affected by COVID, be sure to check out the websites for STEP and the university's current travel restrictions. Also, don't hesitate to reach out to the STEP administration for additional support and resources during this time.
Coming up on Buckeye TV, a look back at Buckeyethon 2020, Snapchat anxiety, and should college students receive stimulus checks? All coming up next on Buckeye TV.
In April of 2020, the United States government provided American citizens with stimulus checks, but most students were exempt from receiving them. Should they be included the next time they are sent? Buckeye TV reporter Chase Brown has more.
Here on Ohio State's main campus, students told me why they think they deserve to receive the government's second stimulus checks and explain what they would do with their money.
While a lot of college students are supported by their parents, a lot are not. And so it's kind of unfair to just assume that because a college student is claimed as a dependent, that they are getting help that they need from their parents.
Second-year student Stephanie Frank agrees, but doesn't think it's necessary.
I think it would be nice for college-age students to get stimulus checks, but I don't think it's necessarily essential for them to receive them if their main priority is getting an education at the moment. Yes, I feel like some college students could be receiving stimulus checks, but I don't necessarily believe all college students should receive stimulus checks because there's just so many of them and they're on such a wide spectrum of financial status.
If Vance and Frank were to receive money, both said they wouldn't spend it immediately.
I think I would probably save a lot of it just so that I have more saved up for after graduation and the expenses that come with that.
I would put it in my savings. I am really just, my parents have raised me to save my money rather than spend it. And I think it would just be more beneficial for me to keep it as something that I can tap into when I need it.
Congress is still debating who will receive stimulus checks and how much money they'll receive. Until then, college students will just have to wait and see. For Buckeye TV, this has been Chase Brown.
Social media has become a big part of our lives, and with it comes some new challenges. Anxiety is becoming more and more prominent in social media, and social media does not help with that. Vincent O is here with a story on Snapchat anxiety.
Hi, it's Vinny here. I'm reporting on Snapchat and anxiety. I'm with my fellow OSU student, Drew Apking, who was kind enough to invite me to his home to get a better understanding of Snapchat and social media and how it relates to anxiety and depression among college students. Can you say your name and spell it for the camera, please?
Drew, D-R-E-W, Apking, A-P-K-I-N-G.
My first question for you is, how do you feel overall about social media?
Media can be a good thing if it's used correctly, but it also can make people feel more down upon themselves and make them feel like they're being left out.
Do you get anxious or feel down when you're using Snapchat?
Definitely, yeah, sometimes. I think the biggest time when I feel down or anxious is when I see that some of my friends are maybe hanging out together and I wasn't invited.
So when someone leaves you on open on Snapchat, what goes through your mind? And
when someone leaves me open on Snapchat, it makes me feel really bad about myself, and it makes.
So did you enjoy your life before smartphones and social media became such a big part of it?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed my life before social media became such a big part.
Mm-hmm. Would you rather go back to those times?
See, I think social media is like a double-edged sword because it does have a lot of good things to use, and it is a good way to communicate with your friends and make plans and have a good time. But also, I think sometimes we're a little bit too interconnected, and I think that social media can make us feel really bad about ourselves because we're comparing ourselves to things that we see our other peers and associates doing.
So for my last question, how do you believe we can combat feelings of anxiety and depression related to social media and specifically Snapchat use?
First off, just using them less. Definitely not using them as much and not relying on them as much will help decrease the amount that we're comparing ourselves to others and we're putting ourselves down.
Okay, all right. Thank you for answering those questions.
Of course.
It's been just 1 year since the last in-person Buckeye-thon dance marathon, and it has changed over this past year. After having an all-virtual dance marathon in the fall of 2020, it's hard to remember a time when coronavirus wasn't keeping the students away from celebrating their fundraising with the Nationwide Children's Hospital kids. Here's Megan Carroll with the story.
The whole COVID thing really threw a wrench in all of our plans. Obviously, a big part of Buckeye-thon would be relating or like getting people their why they want to help out the kids and why they have a passion for pediatric cancer. So I think the biggest problem we had was relating the kids to the students. Just as a participant in Buckeye-thon, you really look forward to the dance marathon. I would say I think that's the biggest part that you're really excited to go to. So we wanted to give the team members a really enjoyable experience too. So I think that was the biggest push for us, was just to make it not only for the family members but also the team members a rewarding experience.
Yes. What is your best memory from last year's being it the last in-person one we've had?
I think just the chaotic energy everyone had the whole time, just running up and down, just seeing other people, and I don't know, it was one of the last things that we had in person before COVID. So definitely just the energy and the excitement that everyone had, and I think everyone was just constantly smiling, which was amazing.
With Buckeye-thon 2021 taking place this past fall, organization for next year's is already underway, and we can only hope to get back to normal soon. I'm Megan Carroll with Buckeye TV.
Conditions continue to impact Americans all over the country. Off-campus commuters here at Ohio State struggle to maneuver their vehicles through the snowy and icy road conditions. But how are students being impacted by these unsafe road conditions? Here's Robert Soto with the story.
Hello, my name is Robert Soto, and I'm here with Buckeye TV. I'm currently standing at the corner of East 16th Avenue and North 4th Street. Due to the recent combination of snowstorms and freezing temperatures, off-campus commuters have experienced difficult driving conditions in their back alleys, side streets, and even their own driveways.
Columbus sucks when it comes to the weather. The streets are completely icy. I have to slow down braking way more than 100 feet in advance, going towards like end of the street, because if not, then there's no guarantee that my brakes will actually stop in time. I have gotten stuck on a side street turning. So I was turning onto a one-way off campus, and I got stuck mid-turn, in which I then had to shovel my way out of the snow to reverse backwards so I don't get hit by incoming traffic, to then shovel my back tires out to go forward to continue driving.
Fortunately though, driving conditions for off-campus commuters may improve over the next week, with the weather forecast predicting to have relatively higher temperatures than usual.
We hope you enjoyed our show today. I'm Nathan Forstoffel.
And I'm Megan Carroll. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time on Buckeye TV.